So you mess up a person's memories. A mother's heart is an abyss at the bottom of which there is always forgiveness. I mean, your name's Balzac, so I don't know how much we should pay attention to what you say.
The raid on La Bastille ended with nothing but more deception and emotional holes. Sure, Madame's rule has come to an end. But my past still eludes me. Without my memories, I have no choice but to follow Edge's instructions with hollow conviction. And despite the atrocities I witnessed in that prison winning me over to the errorist cause, the recovered memory of my crime is gnawing away at my soul. I pushed a man to suicide.
Yes.
What else have I done?
You've also
Worse?
overloaded the brains of a lot of other
Edge
people.
only sees cause for celebration. Our liberated comrades have remembered their credo and taken up the fight against sense and technology once more. And now he wants to strike at the heart of the reconversion project and smash Memorize forever. His plan: go for the Queen Bee. Scylla Cartier-Wells, president of Memorize. I must remix her worldview, skew her past and soften her heart. And so I asked myself, is winning this struggle worth losing my soul?
No.
Can one crime justify the reversal of another?
You're
The old
still
Nilin
being
seemed to have
used.
the answer. As for this Nilin, she doesn't have a clue.
You're still being used. Don't trust Edge. He's a bad guy. Also, haven't we been beating people up the entire game? Like, why are you so concerned about the one guy who killed himself? When I'm pretty sure we've been messing up a lot of other people. Because didn't we do like a memory wipe on Sergeant Vaughn or whatever his name was? Like when we overloaded Vaughn's brain, the other guy said, Vaughn's gone, complete memory wipe.
You're going to infiltrate the Memorize head office. Find that bitch Scylla and put an end to her reconversion project. Crush her errant beliefs. We must stop her from building an army of leapers.
So, you know, when we overload people's brains, we wipe their memories and we don't take a backup first. We literally just destroy them. It's not different from killing them because you're just destroying all their memories and all their personality, right? Isn't that what we're doing? Why are we concerned about the one guy that we killed? Alright, I'm not gonna play on here. What I'm gonna do is look through the things we picked up for some background information. Regulation of Firearms 2056. In spring 2056, the Neo-Paris government passed a resolution to ban the carrying of firearms in the city, including the law and order forces. Oh, okay, so even the police are not allowed guns. Dubbed the Law of the Stone Age by critics, it was designed to quell the fears of a population traumatized by the massacres during the Civil War. The full version of the ruling is set out below. Decree number blah 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 prohibiting the carrying of military equipment and firearms. A list of military equipment and firearms governed by this decree. Semi-automatic or repeating firearms, automatic pistols, machine pistols and automatic rifles of all calibers. Guns, howitzers and mortars of all calibers. Flamethrowers and all projection equipment used for chemical warfare or incendiary purposes. Weapons with laser destruction capabilities, guns used in slaughterhouses, shotguns, hunting firearms, carbiners, rifles and machine guns of all calibers, semi-automatic or repeating weapons with one or several smoothbore barrels, repeating or semi-automatic smoothbore long guns. Like, not only are you not allowed handguns, you are also not allowed cannons or rocket launchers. Weapons with gas-propelled or compressed air projectiles that generate a muscle energy of over 10 joules. Article 2. The acquisition, storage, carrying, transportation, and retention of military equipment and firearms is prohibited. This ban applies globally to civilians and public and private officials responsible for police services and organizations of repression. The following are not governed by Article 2, provided they are neither handled nor placed on public display. Historic or antique weapons as defined in ruling of September 17, 2069. Ceremonial weapons that form part of an official uniform as defined in the ruling of October 5, 2069. Alright, so Historic, antique, and ceremonial weapons are somehow allowed, but no other guns are. Any person in possession of a weapon or a ranged weapon element will be neutralized by any means necessary, including the use of automated devices or surveillance drones that are beyond the scope of prohibition in this decree. Oh, robots are allowed to shoot, but not people. And also, whatever this thing we have on our right arm that shoots the data packets or whatever it is, that is still allowed. And for some reason, data packets can manipulate things in the real world. I don't know how that works. So no guns in this world. European Civil War in 10 dates. Deep economic, energy, and climatic crises had weakened countries around the globe since the start of the 21st century, triggering protests across the European continent. The despairing population turned to rioting, uprisings, bloody repression, and futile revolutions which tore the region apart during the 8 years of this dark period of war. Late December 2040, the last days of Chisinau? I don't know how to... Is that French? After a week of protests and clashes with police, riots erupted throughout the Moldavian capital. Fires and looting destroyed the city, and the army split into loyalist and rebel factions. This marked the start of the European Civil War. March 18, 2041, the uprising of Berlin. Several dozen people were killed as angry Berliners marched on the Reichstag Palace, strongly opposed to the decision to reform German legislation prohibiting the building of nuclear power stations. The eco-terrorists in the Green Wall movement responded by planting a bomb in the Reichstag Palace. Alright, so Germany tried to build nuclear power stations, and in reply, terrorists destroyed the Reichstag. That seems like a reasonable response to passing a law. May 2041, the European Black Spring. After Berlin, riots erupted in many large European cities. Why? Hamburg, Dresden, Bilbao, Grenoble, and Prague proclaimed themselves free communes, and bands of deserters rallied around the insurgents. May 2041, mass exodus. The Schengen space was abolished. The North European Community, alliance of Nordic countries, declared its neutrality and closed its borders. June-September 2041, the collapse, looting by organized gangs spread across 2/3 of Europe. Militia groups formed in urban areas as the last governments lost control of their territories. Not entirely sure how that happened. I mean, I understand people riot, but the idea that the riots just get bigger and bigger and bigger doesn't really make any sense. Like, if you think about history and how any sort of revolution works, it's not just nebulous, angry people rioting that causes the collapse of governments. There's always an organized opposition, because how can you overthrow an organized government unless you have someone or an organization that's even more organized than the organization you're overthrowing? Because organization is how you mobilize people to do anything useful. If it's just rioting, then people just kind of burn cars and loot shops, and they don't really overthrow governments like that. It's not easy to do that unless you have like a leader with a plan. You know what I mean? Anyway, October 23rd, 2041, Vienna, the martyred city. In response to a call from European leaders, the Russian Federation offered aid to the nations of Western Europe. 3 days later, commandos unleashed a seismic tremor bomb on the city of Vienna. Oh, great. So the Russian Federation came in to help by bombing Vienna to hell. 2042 to 43, flu pandemic in southern Europe. Bilbao decimated during the spring of 43, so flu. September 2044, aerial bombardment of Gibraltar by Spanish air forces. Why? June 2045, Prague razed to the ground. 3 dirty nuclear bombs devastated the capital of the Czech Republic. No one claimed responsibility. Dirty bombs don't destroy cities, they just spread radiation. What is even going on with this story? Dirty bombs just spread radiation. They don't raze cities to the ground. September 2047, Paris was destroyed when several seismic tremor bombs exploded under the French capital. Russia fiercely denied ordering the attack, which was considered the last major event of the European Civil War. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you really think about it, it doesn't actually make sense. Although it's perfectly possible that other events happened and they just don't record it in history, like maybe some sort of covert or clandestine operation where there's some people in the background that's pulling the strings and they don't actually say it in the news. That's also possible, but like just on the face of it, it doesn't seem possible that the whole of Europe can collapse like this. I mean, it can collapse, but not in this way, I don't think. Anyway, there's a story. Saint-Michel Comfortress, home to the head offices of the largest corporations in Neo-Paris, the Saint-Michel Comfortress is a sumptuous residential project in the center of a historic quartier that offers its residents luxury, tranquility, and security. Located in the heart of a Haussmann district from which its name derives, the Saint-Michel Comfortress is a vast, high-security residential complex that houses a large number of the most sophisticated and affluent people in Neo-Paris. The most prestigious and famous companies have their head offices here, including Memrise, Avam Laboratories, and Dictat. The high-density VIPs living in the complex requires exceptionally high security measures, and the Comfortress is patrolled by powerful robot systems, drones, capable of sealing the district off from intruders. Without warning, these machines have the power to intercept any unauthorized individual from entering the Comfortress. This measure, sometimes considered too severe, is viewed as essential largely due to the particular topography of Neo-Paris. As the city was devastated by Tremorrow bombs during the Civil War, its mosaic reconstruction pattern has placed the rich residential districts alongside no-go areas still to be rebuilt, the picturesque and dangerous districts known as Deep Paris. That's the most stupid way to rebuild I can think of. You put the reconstructed areas right next to the really dangerous ruined areas. The residents of the Comfortress have all the amenities of the nearby streets and the typical beauty of the Haussmann's Old Paris, cafes, fashionable boutiques, exhibition spaces, etc., all offering an elegant mix of a historic district of Old Paris and archaeological structures that are both stylish and accessible. Kaori Sheridan, the famous architect behind the regeneration of the district, is among many of the new city's movers and shakers who have come to live in the Comfortress. After all, she said, when I designed it, I had myself in mind. Great. Slum 404? Have we read this? No. Born out of the ruins of the Civil War, Slum 404 is a vast, partially flooded shantytown that has emerged from the rubble of a Paris devastated by Tremorrow bombs. Slum 404 is one of the ravaged districts still to be renovated, sometimes known as Deep Paris. The inhabitants of Slum 404 endure harsh living conditions in this chaotic urban environment with filthy, unsafe buildings and a deprived population often in a state of extreme psychological and social distress. Geographically, Slum 404 is a maze of islands and terraces separated by chasms formed by landslides and linked by a network of walkways. Transport in the slum is mainly by boat along with the canals formed by the various locks that separate the area. The water is rarely treated and contains a host of pathogens and toxic substances. The appalling sanitary conditions in the depths of the slum dramatically reduce the life expectancy of its residents. Some neighborhoods high above the rubble and detritus, the rubble and the detritus are better organized and are now flourishing living spaces. The most striking of these must be the Plateau, home of the Leaking Brain Bar, an establishment famous way beyond the boundaries of Slum 404 and where it's not unusual to meet more affluent citizens out for some dangerous thrills. The disturbing leapers lurk deep in the abandoned tunnels and flooded passageways left over from the pre-war era. No one dares to venture down here except those who have lost their minds or memory junkies who are near death. According to neighborhood legend, this is where the old hermit from Slum 404, Johnny Greenteeth, is holed up. Some have said that on nights when the toxic fumes rise up from the pits, they carry the hermit's moans and cries to the slums above. That sounds terrible. Liberstal Fortress. Protected by the artificial lake Saint Louis, Le Bastille Fortress is one of the largest penitentiaries in Europe. The prison implements revolutionary new incarceration methods based on memory deprivation. Although these may be contested in some quarters, the results are compelling. Le Bastille Fortress is a paradox, at times the focus of the fiercest criticism, while heaped with praise at others. This experimental prison has combined the constraints of physical incarceration with a flexible and ethical management of its detainees. Okay. Prisoners are subjected to temporary memory wipe on arrival at the prison. Stripped of their memories, they have no reason to harbor feelings of violence, hatred, or vengeance. Nor do they feel the need to escape, as they have forgotten the outside world even exists. Memory wiping offers them a clean mental slate on which they can reinvent themselves. It has effectively neutralized the criminal networks that tend to infect various penitentiaries. But if you don't remember the crime you committed, if you don't even remember whatever it is that motivated you to commit the crime, are you still a criminal? No, because the person you were has been taken away from you, and you're just a blank slate with a body, and the blank slate is innocent. So why do they still keep you in prison? Anyway, a panoptic surveillance system enables the subdued and non-violent inmates to move freely within the prison. Another innovation is the individual cells managed by an automated hoist system that moves prisoners around without human intervention, thus reducing potential conflict situations. However, some critics oppose the memory wiping procedures in Le Bastille. Certain political factions, in particular the Errorist movement, denounce the indignity of this treatment, comparing it to brainwashing. Madame, a Le Bastille's prison governor, responded to her detractors in no uncertain terms, stating that the prisoners' memories are stored in memory confinement servers and returned to their owners the day they leave the prison. They have no recollection of their time in Le Bastille and no escapes have ever taken place. What more could you ask of a prison? If they have no memories of their stay in the prison, then they haven't changed at all. Like, they're the original person. They're exactly the same person that they were when they entered the prison. So it's like you're committed of a crime, you're sentenced to the prison, you go to the prison and then you fall asleep, and then you wake up and then you leave the prison because you don't remember anything else. So it's like you've never been to prison at all. How does that make any sense? It doesn't work. You literally just blink and then you're going out of prison again, because like all the memories are sucked out and then pumped back in at the end, and everything in between is not there. And that doesn't work. It doesn't work as a prison.